Welcome to the How to Be Awesome at Your Job podcast.
Anyone can do these behaviors. It's not about personality or style.
People are not expressed that much gratitude in the corporate world. We need more. It's like water in the desert. And I feel that that's really important for leaders who are authentic collaboration leaders and also team members to spend more time in gratitude.
We make sure everyone on the team understands how this doesn't happen without them. Even the assistant who's ordering food is incredibly important to make it all happen. So we make sure that's clear for each individual, like you are important and valued in this project and in this company, and we can't do it without you.
That's Tricia Cerrone and Edward Van Luinen. Edward and Tricia met working at Disney and have since spent years researching how authentic collaboration builds better teams. Their goal is to transform the way teams work, doing away with the old notion that competition trumps collaboration and adopting best practices that drive engagement, encourage innovation, and create high-performing teams who love what they do. So you'll learn 1, what most people get wrong about collaboration, 2, how to overcome the barriers to authentic collaboration, and 3, how to zero in on an inspiring, noble purpose that drives motivation and engagement. I'm Pete Makaitis. This is How to Be Awesome at Your Job. And now, here's Edward and Tricia. Tricia and Edward, welcome.
Thank you, Pete.
Hey, Pete, we're happy to be here.
Great to meet you.
Oh, I'm happy to be chatting. So your company's called Authentic Collaboration. We're going to talk about that a lot. Maybe for starters, you could give us a definition. What do you mean by collaboration? And what makes a collaboration authentic versus inauthentic?
Edward, why don't you take the first question and I'll answer the why we think it's authentic.
Authentic collaboration is a group of people working toward a goal with all hands on deck all the time. That's a unique time because a lot of teams, the first thing they try to figure out is, okay, who's the boss? Who's the doer? Who gets the glory work? Who doesn't get the glory work? So that makes it original and authentic right off the bat. It's also a process with a lot of specific tasks that teams can begin to do on day one to set the tone of how they want to work, not just people staying in their swim lane and doing lists of tasks. How we work together is really the most important part of authentic collaboration.
And I think the part about why we picked authentic is we come out of the womb really good. But we get all these attachments and behaviors and things that aren't useful to us anymore. And so just imagine we just want to kind of wipe off all the barnacles of life and be our true selves. And the behaviors really fight that and combat all of our weaknesses in a really easy way that's natural.
Okay. Well, tell me, you've done a lot of research and teaching in the world of collaboration. Any particularly striking, surprising discoveries that you've made about us humans and how we collaborate, best and worst?
Oh, that's a good question. It's interesting that people don't actually know how to collaborate. I feel like the reason why it's so important now, and we see in so many statistics, people are trying to figure it out, and it's the cause for so many work failures. But people are sort of just told to collaborate, and then they don't really know what that means. And sometimes they're like, okay, we'll make this beautiful, cute room with fun things in it, or we'll kind of work together, but that doesn't necessarily mean collaborate. So it's like we learn how to walk, but we forget it actually takes a few different movements to walk. And it's the same with collaboration, only no one's ever told you what those movements are. And so once we realized they were doing things accidentally, but didn't know why they worked. And so sometimes something would work, but overall, no one really understood what it meant to collaborate. So for us, we figured these 5 behaviors, if you do them all, you create this culture of collaboration that works consistently all the time. And so then we went through and we validated each of the behaviors of why they work for us as humans.
Absolutely. The 5 behaviors of a new way to work and lead, which is authentic collaboration, is generosity, co-creation, action, resourcefulness, and gratitude. And as Tricia exactly said, many of those behaviors are on their own not original. But we did some original research with hiring a researcher and found that these cluster of behaviors are unique and have not appeared in any sort of model before. So exactly as Tricia says too, it's like we first have to understand what all the behaviors are and then start to practice them day in and day out. And that makes a difference. And that makes an authentic collaboration team.
All right. Well, could you give us a picture for what's the state of collaboration today in terms of how well are, say, American, for the sake of conversation, workers doing at collaboration, and what's at stake?
Well, there's a few statistics, right? I'll let Edward go in a second, but I was just reading a Gallup poll about our lack of engagement at work, which really speaks to collaboration. And the 2023 state of the world was basically that we're losing like 8 trillion in productivity because people aren't engaged and they just don't want to work with each other. And in America, that's like $550 billion of what's being wasted. So basically like 21% of people right now are looking for another job. And that's about the amount also that are engaged at the office. And Edward, you have a few other statistics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with Trish. I mean, the Gallup poll is really important. Salesforce did a survey and 85% of workers said that the primary reason that projects are failing is because of a lack of collaboration. And I think they think, oh, I'm a team member. I've just got to do tasks. Or it's consensus. 50 people have to be in the room, but I'm not sure what people are doing. So going back to the behaviors, it's really about how we work, not what we're doing. And authentic collaboration focuses on making sure that we are working effectively together first before we start accomplishing our goals and tasks. Software, another industry, 50% of software budgets are created for collaboration tools. The big question is, do the software engineers creating the collaboration tools know how to collaborate? Maybe some do, maybe some don't. So a challenge and an opportunity for those to learn more about authentic collaboration, Pete.
Okay. Well, could you perhaps zoom in to a particular group or workplace or team and paint a real clear picture of what does typical yet unfortunately bad collaboration look like? And then perhaps something they did to turn things around and the cool results that came on the other side of that.
There's certainly like many things you can do wrong. One particular team that I was working with, and I was not the leader at the time, people can be so nice at work, at home, and then they get to work and some of the times their insecurities come out. So if you have a leader who is insecure, which in a way is like how one of the ways pride can show up at work, then it's hard because they don't trust your decisions necessarily, but they also don't trust their own decisions. And so what we had to do was actually gently educate our leader so that he could trust working with us. And so I think leadership, it can show up as like ego. So when you have someone on the team who like wants all the attention, then they don't want to collaborate. And I think the other thing that happens in teams is, to Edward's earlier point, people stay in their lanes because HR to a degree has made an industry out of, these are your roles and responsibilities. You do these. And then if I do those, no matter what someone else does, I won't catch the blame. I won't lose my bonus. And so it's this fear that's come onto teams. And so that's what we see a lot of, is sort of like fear that I won't be able to do my jobs because someone else didn't do their job. And so that's why we try to use this sense of generosity to remove fear, and so that people are trusting each other and actually being honest with each other and helping to problem solve quicker. Did that answer your question, Pete?
Oh, yes. Thank you. And we talk about insecurity. What are some of the typical behaviors, I don't know, words, phrases, actions that you see insecure people taking?
Great question, Pete. I feel that it shows up in hoarding information. Hoarding team members. This is my team. I've spent years hiring, coaching, growing them to be the high potentials or leaders. I want to keep them instead of the organization owning the talent. I think it shows up in not being all hands on deck all the time. Because I'm a senior vice president, I don't have to clean up the conference room after a meeting when in fact I should, because I was participating in that meeting, as an example. So it can show up in a lot of ways. I feel that another way that on teams that I've been on is that if we, as Tricia says, valiantly try to demonstrate the authentic collaboration behaviors in 3, 4, 5 meetings. And sometimes when you give, you kind of want to get, because you're role modeling and demonstrating how you want to be treated. But in additional meetings that or collaborations that I've tried, after 3, 4, 5 meetings, if I'm not getting any response from these authentic collaboration behaviors, it's a good indicator that it may not work.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of quick results. Well, we know pretty fast, apparently, if we're going to get some traction here.
Well, sometimes you have to, of course, depending if you're in a company, you don't often have the luxury of saying, okay, I don't want to do this. But as consultants or in a company, even, you get an indication of how easy it's going to be to demonstrate these behaviors and want to love your job. So the question we want to ask is, how can we get people to love their job even more? And we feel we can do that with authentic collaboration.
I want to just add something to what Edward said. Is one thing we do tell people is if you do these behaviors, whether anyone else does or not, you are going to enjoy your work better because the way people respond to you is going to be different. And so it does change the energy and the dynamic of everyone that you interact with. So even if your whole team isn't doing it, you're still going to have greater success.
All right. Well, I think we must hear these 5 behaviors. We got some hype here. Let's deliver. Tell us, what are they? How do we do them?
Well, the first one is easy. And I'll just say, like, anyone can do these behaviors. It's not about personality or style or how you were brought up or anything like that. You can all do them. They're all about the actions that you can do, behaviors, and getting better at them and being a little intentional about it. So generosity is the first one. And generosity, we all know that it's about serving and helping others. So it's like, how do you look at your team developing each other? How do you grow each other? Do you coach each other after a meeting? Do you, as Edward said earlier, help to clean up? Do you see what their needs are? But the other great outcome of generosity is that it overcomes fear and scarcity. And that we talked earlier, that insecurity and pride, because it creates connection. So that's one of the great things about generosity. We could talk about generosity all day. I'll hand Edward off.
Oh, sure thing. And so if I am trying to practice generosity regularly, are there any particular mottos, mantras, mindsets, attitudes that just I have in me and I'm working through as I see the world and make decisions and choose what to do?
No, I probably wouldn't say that we do have one. It's more of like, be a little bit self-aware and look around you to see who needs help.
Okay, sure.
It's how we walk through life. Who needs help?
And I love those simple examples in terms of cleaning up and coaching, et cetera. Can you give some additional easy little ways we can help out every day?
Absolutely. Thanks, Pete. And one of the ways is we worked with a lot of leaders on our project, 3-year project, Authentic Collaboration, that came out of this project. And one is that feedback is very important on how you're doing. And we made a commitment to provide very specific, timely written feedback to leaders that helped us within 24 hours. Many of them commented, gosh, I usually got this verbally, or it was very late, or it wasn't specific. But we wrote detailed thank you notes, which seems a little bit old school, but I think people still like to get written thank you notes about how they made a difference on the project. Another generosity trait that we demonstrated was we had a lot of high potential more junior talent, you could say, on our team. Well, one of the ways that we thought we were generous and collaborative with them was, you're going to kick off this meeting with a bunch of executives present. I don't know if I could do that. Well, we're going to coach you to make sure you feel comfortable doing it. And then they did it, right, Trish? Numerous times.
Yeah.
And then there's well, how did you feel doing that? Oh my gosh, it was great. Someone came up to me and really was happy to meet me and didn't know I worked in that division or department. And we're going to have a coffee because now they know who I am. So I feel that's another specific behavior of generosity, is letting other people shine. That's real important.
Okay. And I guess the counter, the opposite of generosity is not necessarily being evil and maliciously destructive, but rather maybe more of a scarcity mindset in terms of the hoarding. This is mine. I'm not going to share. If I give a little, then it's going to come back to bite me because I will have less because I have given.
Right. And also like the ego of like, well, I did this on my own. I'm the star, and not sharing that it took a team.
Exactly. No, you're right, Pete. Great question. And our motto actually, and our book title is Collaborate to Compete. We feel that's counterintuitive, it's original, it's pretty disruptively innovative, Because most times, as you know, Pete and Trish and I experienced as well in companies, people are unnecessarily competing against each other. Why don't we work together and compete to get more market share? That's who we should be competing against. So collaborate and the whole performance management system, as Trish was saying, the rewards were built on competing, not collaborating. So it's a real head turner.
All right. Well, so let's hear about the next behavior.
One of the next one is like resourcefulness. So it's better to be resourceful than to have resources, but it's really about developing your ongoing growth and knowledge about everything in the world, because you can often use everything, right? Whether it's tools or information. And so it's knowing how to use all of that in the moment, but having this also attitude of behavior of always learning. So even if we were going on a trip to Hong Kong to check out a different park, we would take a half day to like, okay, maybe I can get a tour of operations and learn how they do things differently here. Or if I'm in a restaurant and it's, again, another country, like learning a few words, asking the history of the restaurant, because all those little things feed into your experiences and who you might be talking to. And, as a designer, especially working with Disney so much, even looking at the world around you, like what's the sense of humor of the country? And you can see that in advertisements, or you might experience the culture in a store or anywhere you go. So resourcefulness is really about asking questions and being curious, and curiosity really drives resourcefulness.
I agree with Trish. Another behavior is co-creation. And a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to go to a brainstorming meeting and we're going to come up with sort of a group decision. I think that's probably the 101 of co-creation. Co-creation can actually be democratized, for lack of a better word, throughout the organization in every interaction you're in. How can a conversation become co-created? You have ideas, I have ideas. We co-created our solutions all the time within the team. If they were co-created, that doesn't mean, again, going back to the definition, all hands on deck all the time. It's not my idea. It's our idea. In a conversation, in a meeting, in almost every interaction you're having, you're co-creating. And that's, I think, another important behavior to authentic collaboration.
Yeah. And a lot of the co-creation piece is, it's important with problem solving. And often people are jumping in with like this solution, that solution, but this kind of gives you the discipline to pause and listen and ask questions and build on that idea first and explore it first, and then move on to the next idea and then prioritize. And all of that's important, one, because you might miss something that is a great solution, but it also makes sure that everyone on your team feels seen and heard and valued for the idea and contribution. And a lot of the behaviors do that. It's sort of a thing that we all need as humans. And it also makes our work feel like more valuable. So connection and being seen, heard, and valued is kind of core to why all these things work together.
Okay. And so do you have any top do's and don'ts to achieve those ends?
Yeah, keep your mouth shut to start, right? So co-creation, like if you have a problem, state the problem. And if you're a leader at the table and you've brought everyone together, don't be the leader who's like, no, that won't work. Don't be the leader who's like, oh, I have a better idea. Don't be the person who says, we've tried that before. Pause. And even if you don't think it's a good idea, ask a question. Well, tell me more about that. Or what made you think about that? Or why do you think that might work in this situation, right? So it's that ability to explore an idea a little deeper despite your own filter that you have. So again, a little bit of self-awareness and a little more listening. We were just interviewing another leader who was sharing that she brought together this entire team of leaders, and the solution came from the custodial person, not from all these other experts who are great designers and thinkers. And I think that's what it is. Everyone needs to listen because you don't know where that great idea is going to come from.
All right.
Absolutely. I agree, Trish. And gosh, I was a people manager for 5 or 6 years, always leading the team meeting. And I don't know, finally, I had the realization, Pete, that was like, Edward, why don't you ask your team members to take turns leading a meeting? Why are you doing it all the time? And I think that speaks to what Trish is talking about, co-creation is other people have gifts and talents and creativity. And gosh, they probably are maybe better leading a meeting than you are. And you're the one that has the manager title. So I think that goes to also being generous and co-creating and being grateful for wonderful team members too.
All right. Let's hear about the fourth behavior.
Action, or preference for action, is what we call it. And so it's obviously you have to move. The reason it's important and we include it is because people have a lot of fear about making decisions, and you have to act even when you don't have all the information. And that's the point. And you actually don't need that much information to move forward on something and to try something. But if you do that, then you will learn, okay, does that get me a little closer to the answer? Or is that something I'm going to cross off as it's not going to work? And then either way, whenever you do act, it builds that courage in you, continue to take more action. And when you do it as a team, it builds that confidence on a team. So it's a great feeling of that first time, especially when you do that together as a team and you grow that kind of security and confidence and ability to take risks together.
And the fifth?
Gratitude. Gratitude we define as it's really more than a feeling, it's an action. So it's tied to action. And I'll give a specific example. I had to get ready for a very difficult meeting. I don't know where I was working at the time. And I took the time to journal before that meeting. What were all my thoughts about why I thought this was an excellent project? While I was even having a difficult time with the project at that moment. Overall, what was great about what was I doing, what the team was doing, what the effort was, what were the early results, so that when I went into that difficult project meeting, I was actually, time spent on gratitude was almost sort of like an armor. Other people were negative and they might have been critiquing, but I was calm. And I feel giving myself gratitude and allowing to share gratitude with team members is also really important, which is recognition and rewards, and also gets to that collaborate to compete. People are not expressed that much gratitude in the corporate world. We need more. It's like water in the desert. And I feel that that's really important for leaders who are authentic collaboration leaders and also team members to spend more time in gratitude. I may say too that sometimes people wonder and are suspicious at first. Why are you buttering me up? Why are you complimenting me? We are in a competitive corporate environment. Are you trying to get something from me? And I feel that the authentic way of approaching compliments through gratitude and the consistent way shows that, no, I care about the team. I care about the company. I care about the noble purpose of this project and this company. And that's evident through my consistently doing it, not just haphazardly complimenting and being full of gratitude just to get something. Or as you said earlier, Pete, it's really about how do I demonstrate that authentic gratitude?
Yeah, there's nothing worse when it's insincere, right? But I think the value of it is to be specific of how that person contributed to this amazing outcome. I also think it's important for the team to share celebrations together. And if you think of when you tell a story, there's the highs and lows. And even with our 5 behaviors, there's points where I see it as telling a story, and gratitude is sort of that celebration moment that everyone needs a breath from all of the action. And so it re-energizes everyone again.
Okay. Well, talking about stories, I'd love if you could share with us some of the most clear, illustrative, transformative examples of folks who have really made a 180 on some of these behaviors and the cool things that happened when they did so.
I had a colleague who honestly thought he was a good friend. And I had pitched this program for bringing innovation to Disney. And it was in a room with all VPs and me, the only woman in there too. Anyway, he totally put my idea down in front of everyone. And he was passionately against it. And so I was like, okay, that was not co-creation right there.
Can you share, what did he say when he put it down?
He said, it'll never work. No one can pitch an idea within 5 minutes. And those were his main things. One, it'll never work. And 2, it's not actually possible. And so after the meeting, I went with him and I said, can you talk more? Can you talk more about why you're so against this? And he just said, I just think it takes a lot more to pitch an idea and you have to really understand the lay of the land and blah, blah, blah. And he had all these legitimate reasons because when we pitch something at Disney, it could be 20 minutes to an hour where you have an executive. So the idea that you could pitch something in 3 minutes and get like potential feedback in 2 minutes was a little bit of an alien idea. So I took his notes and then I addressed them with everybody who wanted to pitch. And so I basically used generosity and taught everyone how to pitch. And I also brought him in to hear their pitches and critique them. And then when it came to the time for this event to happen and all these different Imagineers were pitching various ideas in front of the leaders, he sat there in the audience and he came to me afterwards and he's like, that worked. And that was really great. He's like, I didn't think it was good. I was surprised he like admitted it, but he said it was really great. And so through his not belief and then him willing to sort of be generous and listening and giving me his opinion, actually, and then co-creating with me and the team to understand how to pitch, then he was able to like kind of overcome how he thought about something. And so I think that's kind of a co-creation experience of how that kind of came together.
Lovely. Thank you.
And just to add to that story, there's going to be barriers to authentic collaboration, Pete. It's not all just Pollyanna that everyone understands these 5 behaviors. And, we've got a great product and process and team. And I love my job because now I practice these 5 behaviors and work with great leaders. And we have sort of a part of our book, which is negotiating naysayers. Like Trish said, what do you do in that instant when you've got someone who's against you publicly? And Trish pushed through that barrier of whatever that was, insecurity or ego. And by finding out sometimes as Trish met later with that person, what's going on? Why? Tell us more. Sometimes people saying no have a legitimate reason for saying no, and we can find out what that is and uncover more information to be more action-oriented and co-creation. So sometimes barriers are a gift. Not in the moment because they don't feel so great, right, Trish? But it's like, wow, okay, this is the test of leadership.
You feel like you're being attacked, right?
Yeah, this is the test of leadership. It's not all Pollyanna all the time.
All right. Well, tell me anything else you want to make sure to mention before we hear about some of your favorite things?
I think one of the other kind of important things that companies need to be aware of, and even like leaders on a team should be aware of, is, and we call it noble purpose. But individuals and humans want to be working on something that's important in their life. And how we express that to them on a team can make all the difference in their engagement and their desire to like push a little harder. And so if you think about a company vision and mission, a vision is sort of that emotional piece of it. And then the mission is this is what we actually do to make that happen. And the noble purpose we always try to bring to a team. And it's that combination of those two things, like what is it for the company, but then what does that mean for the team?
Big thanks to our sponsor, Acorns. Acorns makes it easy to start automatically saving and investing for your future. You don't need a lot of money or expertise to invest with Acorns. In fact, you can get started with just your spare change. Acorns recommends an expert-built portfolio that fits you and your money goals, then automatically invests your money for you. NerdWallet.com, whom I love on these sorts of matters, gives Acorns a whopping 4.7 stars and says, quote, if you want to make the most of your spare change, there's no better place to do that than Acorns. Head to acorns.com/awesome or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. And we got a legal disclaimer here. It may not be representative of all clients. Tier 1 compensation provided. Compensation provides an incentive to positively promote Acorns. View important disclosures at acorns.com/awesome. Investing involves risk, including the loss of principal. Please consider your objectives, risk tolerance, and Acorns' fees before investing. Acorns Advisors LLC, Acorns, is an SEC-registered investment advisor. Brokerage services are provided to clients of Acorns by Acorns Securities LLC, member FINRA/SIPC. For more information, visit acorns.com. One sponsor to check out is Storyworth. Whenever I'm thinking about meaningful Father's Day gifts, Storyworth leaps to mind. Storyworth helps you preserve precious memories and stories from your father for years to come. Each week, Storyworth emails your loved ones a thought-provoking question that you get to help pick, such as, what's the bravest thing you've ever done? I personally love the prompt so much that I have refreshed Storyworth's questions page many times looking for more. Storyworth makes the writing process super quick and easy. All your loved one needs to do is respond to that email with a story, and then you get a quick copy of that. And after a year of this fun, Storyworth compiles your loved one's stories and photos into a beautiful keepsake hardcover book that you'll be able to share and revisit for generations to come. Families love Storyworth so much, they've got 25,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot and have millions of stories preserved. So give all the fathers in your life a unique, heartfelt gift they'll all cherish for years. Storyworth. Right now, you can save $10 on your first purchase when you go to storyworth.com/awesome. That's storyworth.com/awesome to save $10 on your first purchase. One sponsor to check out is Harvard Business Review. This brilliant magazine, published at hbr.org, is the leading destination for smart management thinking. Fun fact, HBR has been mentioned in 108 episodes of the show. That's because HBR has great stuff that comes up often. They've got explainer videos, podcasts, real-world case studies, and much more. I think of HBR each night that I put on my special orange glasses. Their article, Will Blue Light Glasses Improve Your Sleep?, revealed that those who wore them reported better sleep and a 7% improvement in work performance as compared to those who wore the sham glasses. So I cite HBR anytime anyone tells me that I look silly wearing them. Now, much of HBR's content is available for free when you sign up at their site. Subscriptions that get you unlimited content cost $10 a month. If you visit hbr.org/subscriptions and enter the promo code AWESOME, you can save 10% off of that subscription. Again, to save 10% off of your HBR subscription, go to www.hbr.org/subscriptions and enter the promo code AWESOME.
How does the team's vision and mission support the company? And then me as a leader, how does that support the company? And then you, Pete, your unique contribution on the team that no one else can do, that is your more defined vision and mission, your noble purpose. So we make sure everyone on the team understands how this doesn't happen without them. Even the assistant who's ordering food is incredibly important to make it all happen. So we make sure that noble purpose is this concept that's both emotional and practical and clear for each individual to, again, go back to like, you are important and valued in this project and in this company, and we can't do it without you.
And if we can get our team members to say, I love my job more, then we've won with authentic collaboration. They can actually say they love their jobs more.
Edward and Tricia are about to share some of their favorite things. And one of my favorite things is our sponsors. Check them out. Lovely. All right. Well, now could you share a favorite quote, something you find inspiring?
I think that the Maya Angelou quote is so appropriate for authentic collaboration. People forget what you say. People forget what you do, but people will never forget how you make them feel. And I think that is really at the heart of authentic collaboration, is that people feel seen, heard, grown, developed, honored, and are rewarded on being on an authentic collaboration team.
I think for me, one of my favorite sayings is the African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
All right. And a favorite book?
I really like, as a business book, Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And I also, anything by Michael Lewis, who wrote Moneyball and Blindside. I love all his stuff too.
I like The Medici Effect by Franz Johansson. I think that it speaks to how we can create in almost all circumstances.
All right. And if folks want to learn more or get in touch, where would you point them?
They can find us at authentic-collaboration.com, which is our website. And we're also on LinkedIn and post a couple times a week.
All right. And you have a final challenge or call to action for folks looking to be awesome at their jobs?
Every day is day one. Sometimes when you're in your routine as an HR director or SVP of HR or a general manager or a CEO or a hypo, sometimes we get into our routine. What we don't want to do is repeat our same leadership style and wake up 20 years later and said, I've just been doing the same leadership style for 20 years over and over again. So every day is day one. Try something new. People don't know you're doing something new. They think you're just being a great leader. But for you, it's like, oh, this is the first time I'm doing it. But no one knows that. So keep trying.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Tricia, Edward, thank you for this. And I wish you many lovely, authentic collaborations.
Thank you, Pete. It's fun to be here.
Thank you, Pete. It's been really fun. Thank you very much.
I enjoyed the wholesome, uplifting wisdom that Tricia and Edward shared here. And I particularly loved the notion behind uncovering what's behind a no to turn it into a yes, which reminds me of a conversation that we had, back in episode 597 with Alex Carter when it comes to negotiation. And she said that her default reaction to no is 4 words. What are your concerns? And that has really stuck with me in terms of no triggers. What are your concerns? As opposed to, oh, okay, sorry, never mind. Bye. A nice reminder from Tricia and Edward. No is not the end. Finding great ways to collaborate effectively. If you'd like a summary write-up of the wisdom Edward and Tricia shared, please sign up for the Gold Nugget email list at awesomeatyourjob.com, where you'll find that quick write-up in your inbox, as well as unlocking the vault of all 958 of these summary write-ups. Those are the Gold Nuggets at awesomeatyourjob.com. And if you want to check out the transcript and links to items that we've referenced, visit us at awesomeatyourjob.com/EP958. Hope to catch you next time, and peace.
Thanks for listening. To get the most out of the show, we recommend 2 key things. First, check out the extra resources at awesomeatyourjob.com. You can find this episode's transcript and links, as well as the perfect episode for your situation. You can search the full text transcripts of hundreds of episodes or explore episodes tagged by topic and competency covered. Second, subscribe to the podcast and get future episodes automatically. You can subscribe by telling Siri and several other smartphones and speakers, subscribe to the How to Be Awesome at Your Job podcast, or by tapping subscribe in your podcast player of choice. If you'd like some extra help figuring out podcasts and how subscriptions work, visit awesomeatyourjob.com/subscribe for guidance. Hope to catch you on the next episode of How to Be Awesome at Your Job.